lot of Pokemon sealed product to pick up right now to invest in, but today I'm going to be going through different products and comparing the two, and give you guys some situations of whether or not I would buy it or not. So basically, we're playing a game of this or that. I'm going to be going through a bunch of Pokemon sealed products, putting them up against each other, and I'll tell you which ones I would prefer to pick and why. Let's get into the first one. So the first one would be, would I rather buy a Astral Radiance booster box or a Brilliant Stars booster box? Now both sets are absolutely fantastic from the Sword and Shield era, and they are both out of print. Now we've seen already some sets in the Sword and Shield era climb very well. We've seen Fusion Strike do very well, Lost Origin do very well, Chill and Rain, and of course Evolving Skies. But there are a few other sets that are yet to, kind of reach that height. Whereas Brilliant Stars and Astral Radiance are definitely two sets which are doing very well. So personally, for me, if I had to pick out of the two, which one would I go for? I would probably lean towards Brilliant Stars over Astral Radiance. Both booster boxes are currently going for around about $180 on TCG Player right now. Brilliant Stars was always the more expensive set out of the two, even when it was still in print and available, whereas Astral Radiance went out of print to then climb to where it is now. But don't get me wrong, Astral Radiance does have fantastic looking alt arts. The Machamp is doing very well as well, so it has that going for it. But for me, I kind of feel like the power of Charizard, Arceus, and an incredibly strong trainer gallery with the Umbreon VMAX, the Sylveon VMAX, and also having the legendary birds in gold as well will help Brilliant Stars in the long run. I still rank Brilliant Stars in my top 5 sets of the Sword and Shield era. I would say it is really, really good. Now don't get me wrong, I think Astral Radiance is also good, especially being a trainer gallery set. But for me, I would personally spend my money and picking up some Brilliant Stars. Now over here in the UK, however, Brilliant Stars is about $140 a box, and Astral Radiance is pushing, or is around that price, maybe a little bit less. For me, I would still want to go for Brilliant Stars, even though the prices are similar. I do still feel like Brilliant Stars is the better pick. Alright, would I rather buy the Charizard UPC or the 151 UPC? That is an interesting one. The prices of both of these are slightly different depending on where you live, right? So I'll give you an example. Over in the US, a Charizard UPC on TCG Player is like what, 160, 170, whereas the 151 UPC is a little bit cheaper. I think you can still pick up for around about 130 for that UPC. Whereas over here in the UK, you can pick up the Charizard UPC for what, 100, 110, and you can pick up the 151 for 120. So they've kind of flipped a little bit. They are a little bit different depending on where you live. For me personally, I would still prefer to go with the Charizard UPC, only because 151 is still in print right now, and there is potential of more UPCs to come out. But not only that, the sets that you get in the Charizard one is by far better, right? Because you get that variety. Yeah, you get some dud sets in there like Vivid Voyage and Darkness, but you only get 1 pack of each. But you do get 3 Evolving Skies, you do get 3 Brilliant Stars, you do get I believe it's like 3 Astral Radiance. Like you get you also get some Lost Origin there. You get like the best sets, except pretty much the best sets, except outside of something like maybe Crown Zenith, which you're not going to find in there. You're pretty much going to get the best sets from the Sword and Shield era in the Charizard UPC, as well as you get all the promos and everything else in there. Whereas the 151 is still in cycle, it's still in print, it's just 151, and if 151 ends up getting a massive reprint down the line of booster bundles or ETBs, and you start to see the price and the value of 151 packs drop, it's probably not going to be the best. And especially over here in the UK right now, the fact that you can buy Charizard UPC for cheaper, I would go for the Charizard UPC. Over in the US, I would probably still go for the Charizard UPC, only because it has got the better packs in it, and I think that will do very well in the future. Don't get me wrong, I think the 151 UPC will do well as well, but I think right now, I would put my money on the Charizard UPC. Which one would I rather buy? The Lugia alt art from Silver Tempest or the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade? Both of them are currently sat at $200 a piece, but which one would I rather go for? It's interesting, right? Because the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade is relatively new. I do expect Twilight Masquerade to get reprinted, which then does drop the price and the value of Greninja. But Greninja is doing very, very well right now. We can't really ignore and deny the fact that it's doing very well, and I think pull rates are having a big impact on the value of this card. But I would probably still go for the Lugia from Silver Tempest. Why? Silver Tempest is out of print. Lugia is probably more of a favourite Pokemon among people. And also for me personally, I think the Lugia is very good. It's one of my favourite Pokemon. But I think it will do better in the long haul. I really do think it will do better than the Greninja. Don't get me wrong, I think the Greninja, like I compared it to like the Blaziken from Chin Blaziken's done very well as well. But I do feel like the Lugia has so much more potential. Even though Silver Tempest is still relatively cheap, or cheaper compared to some of the other sets available at the moment from Sword and Shield, I do still feel like the Lugia is probably going to be the better one. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, down the line, if I do compare the two down the line, like towards the end of the year or into next year, because of how new the Greninja is. But for me, right now, I would go with the Lugia. This one's a good one. Evolving Skies Booster Box, or 5 Battle Styles. That's right, Battle Styles, we're going into it. This is an interesting one, right? So 5 Battle Styles is roughly around market price, about $700. Evolving Skies box is again around $700. Now Evolving Skies is been plateauing quite a bit, and I still do believe that it will be over $1,000 a box. I don't know whether or not it will get there towards the end of the year, but I do feel like it will get there eventually. Some people talk about Evolving Skies being a 2k box, a 3k box in the future, and it might well be. It might be the next team up. But Battle Stars is so cheap right now at roughly 135 plus, roughly, a box. You can get 5 of them. It's interesting, right? It's like, okay, well, if I grab an Evolving Skies and I want to hold on to it, and let's say it does reach 1,000. Right, let's say in the next 12 months it gets to $1,000, but in the next 12 months, do I really see 5 Battlestar boxes reaching $200 a box? I think so. I could see it happening, but what I will say is I kind of feel like that would be it. Like if Battlestars, I think the Battlestars has a lower ceiling, right? I don't feel like it's going to be one of these sets that's just going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, but I do feel like Evolving Skies is going to be one of these sets that's going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. So for me, I would actually say that I would probably go for the Evolving Skies booster box. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but that's probably what I would go for. Over here in the UK, you could pick up Evolving Skies booster boxes. They do vary. I mean, I've seen some people sell them for $550, $600, give or take. Some maybe a little bit more, all depends. So for me, let's say it was £600 a box, and Battle Stars, you could buy 5 Battle Stars boxes for the same price. I would probably still go for the Evolving Skies. I do feel like the ceiling for Evolving Skies is so much higher than Battle Stars. I think there are going to be other sets like Chill and Rain and Fusion Strike, like the other ones that are growing. I kind of feel like those will be ones where it would go up in value and they will have a higher ceiling. Like I do feel like those ones could be $500+ a box. I don't see Battle Stars being that. I do see it being like 200, maybe 250, and kind of slow down. But I do feel like Evolving Skies could be team up and beyond in the future, just because of just how strong performing the set is. Even though at the moment it's kind of plateauing and staying level, I do still feel like it will climb up to probably be worth it more. And then we have a battle of Charizard, the Charizard from 151 or the Charizard from Paldean Fates. These are 2 massive Charizards from 2 really good sets. Which one would I put my money on? Like which one would I buy for potential returns down the line? It's an interesting one, right? So 151 Charizard has kind of stayed pretty stagnant in price. It hasn't really moved much for a while, even though Seal product is going up over time. There is a potential reprint of 151, which might drop the price of the Charizard as well, but the same goes for the Charizard from Paldean Fates. Both of them are roughly the same price, around about $110. I do feel like the Charizard from Paldean Fates is harder to pull than the Charizard from 151. Paldean Fates is super cheap to buy right now, and you can pick up quite a lot of them for a decent price in a ton of different places, whereas 151 is getting more expensive. The Charizard, I think, from Paldean Fates is definitely better than the Charizard from Shining Fates. But I do still feel like long term, I think the Charizard from 151 is probably going to do better. I know it sounds crazy, even though I do prefer the artwork and the style of the Paldean Fates Charizard. I just can't deny how strong 151 is, and I do feel like it would be a bigger card in the future. We haven't seen the shiny Charizard VMAX from Shining Fates do much except fall in value. That was due to heavy printing of Shining Fates. But like I say, there could be a reprint of Paldean Fates coming down the line, which will then cause this Charizard to drop even more. And this is a big Charizard, but it just kind of feel like 151, or most things from 151. Once it's out of print, will start to climb quite heavily. So for me, even though I'm not a fan of the artwork, if I had to spend $110 on either one of them, I would probably go with the 151 Charizard. Alright, this one is a tough one. This one's a tough one. A box of Fusion Strike, alright, or a box of Chilling Reign. It's always a battle between the two of them. You know, which one's better? Which one would I prefer to put my money on? And Fusion Strike has dropped a little bit in value. It was around 250, it's now dropped to roughly around 235, and Chilling Reign's now gone up to 235. Where would I put my money? Which one would I prefer to sink my teeth into and, you know, put my money where my mouth is? It's really interesting. I think the story between the two sets over here in the UK, Fusion Strike any day of the week. It's still available on the PokeJace website, and you can still pick it up for 145 a box. It's a no-brainer. But once it sells out on the, you know, Pokemon Center website, then it'll shoot up and it'll probably be roughly the same price as what Chilling Reign is over here. But over in the US, they're both roughly around the same. I think it boils down to what cards are in the set that will help drive that set. And for me, Fusion Strike has the OR Gengar, and it has the Espeon, which is really driving the set forward for these two massive chase cards. Then after that, you got the OR Mew VMAX, which I don't think that many people are that bothered with. And then after that, you've just got a bunch of alt arts and rainbows that don't really, or aren't really worth much of a chase. Chilling Reign, you have the Blaziken, which is doing very well. It's about the same price as the Gengar. But then you also have the fact is that this set has the second highest amount of alt arts behind Evolving Skies in the whole of the Sword and Shield era. The Moltres is doing very well. Shadow Rider Calyrex is doing very well. We're starting to see like the Zapdos and the Articuno go up by 70-80% over the past month. These cards are climbing, they're doing very well, but which is the better one to put my money on? And for me, I would probably have to lean with Chilling Reign. It sounds kind of, you may think it sounds kind of crazy because Fusion Strike was just recently 250, but exactly that, right? Fusion Strike went up to 250, then it dropped. Chilling Reign hasn't dropped, it keeps on climbing. I think the power of having this many arts in a set will help it more in the long run than just Fusion Strike alone and just the Espeon and the Gengar trying to drive Fusion Strike forward. I definitely think both sets are good, but if I had to choose, I would go Chilling Reign. They've got two big cards coming in. What about the Alt Art Gengar VMAX and the Alt Art Giratina? Both cards are roughly around $350 right now. Giratina has been dropping recently, and so has the Gengar. Both from very, very good sets, Lost Origin and Fusion Strike. The thing is, for me, it's hard to decide, right? Because I actually don't like the artwork of either. Yeah, both of those cards are not my cup of tea. They're not something that I'm after to add into my collection. I would prefer, you know, I would like to have in my collection, but there are others that I like the look of more that I would prioritize more over getting these two as an example. So I'm not biased between I prefer one card better than the other. But what I will say is I think the power, the real power of Giratina in Lost Origin is just, it's just crazy. I mean, it's not like the Umbreon level from Evolving Skies, but it really is crazy. I mean, yes, both Gengar and Giratina have been falling in value, and we've started to see booster boxes drop in value as well. But I still feel like the Giratina is huge. I mean, yeah, the Gengar's a really big hit as well, but I don't know, just something about the Giratina. Everyone's like just obsessed with Lost Origin because of that card. And you could argue that people are somewhat obsessed with Fusion Strike because of Gengar. Both are very hard to pull. I've never pulled either of them on any video or any stream I've done on the channel. It is very, very difficult to get both of these cards. So for me, I do feel like you're going to have a lot of people that like Gengar. Gen 1, you know, I love Gengar as well, but I don't like the art. I do feel like, for me though, Giratina probably over Gengar. So I would probably pick Giratina over the Gengar, only because, just, I don't know, for some reason this Giratina just has an aura and a feel about it. We've seen this card reach much higher heights than what the Gengar has already reached. So for me, I would probably lean towards the Giratina. Well, then we're going a little bit old school. Would I prefer to buy a Cosmic Eclipse booster box or an XY Evolutions booster box. Both of them are roughly around $850. XY Evo is a very heavily printed set that has appreciated insanely in value, and so has Cosmic Eclipse. Both of them have done very well. In fact, I've actually bought both in the past. I've picked up an XY Evolutions booster box in the past for $650, and I bought a Cosmic Eclipse for $400. Both of them are sat around $850 each at the moment. For me, I would say that the power of XY Evolutions has been doing very well, right? It used to be $1,000 during the height of the pandemic, whereas Cosmic Eclipse is the most expensive it's ever been at the moment, whereas XY is trying to get back to where it once was. I feel like the power of XY Evolutions is very good, the nostalgia is very good, you know, and things like that. So even though it's heavily printed, was heavily printed back in the day, I still do believe that XY Evolutions will and continue to be a very, very good set to, you know, invest in. However, we can't deny how powerful a lot of the Sun and Moon era sets have been. Cosmic is the second most expensive set behind Team Up. Of course, Team Ups is just in a league of its own, but Cosmic Eclipse is doing very well, and it had help with the big art boom that happened last year, and as well as the waifu boom. But Cosmic Eclipse is doing very well indeed. I mean, my booster box has more than doubled in value, and even buying it at $400 2 years ago was like, oh, this is quite expensive. But now we're looking at a booster box which could reach $1,000 and is continuing to climb month by month, whereas XY hasn't. It's had a bit of a rough patch. It's been fluctuating in price between $700, $800, $850 and back down again. Over the past 2 years, it's just been going up and down like crazy and hasn't really settled or set a path and continue to climb. So for me, if I had to buy any of the two right now, I would probably go for a Cosmic Eclipse. I do truly believe that Cosmic Eclipse, even at $850 or around $850, will do better than XY Evolutions in a year's time or more if you choose one of the two. I mean, who knows? Things could happen. But I do think that a lot of the Sun and Moon era stuff is doing very well, and I do feel like it has the potential. For XY Evolutions, for me, it's like there is a lot of it. Not only is there a lot of it around, but I feel like the fatigue of Charizard is real, and the same with the fatigue of XY Evolutions is kind of real as well. So that might not help the set climb, but we'll have to wait and see. But for me right now, I would go with Cosmic. So there you have it, guys. Those are my picks. Of course, I can do a whole bunch of these comparing the two. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts on my choices. Do you agree with anything that I have chosen today? And can you think of any that you want to ask me and I can do in a future video to give me some ideas of comparing the two? Or I can, you know, I'll let you guys know in the comments if you want me to choose between which ones I would go for. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's something a bit different. Of course, there's so much stuff to choose from single cards to sealed product. It's always quite tricky to like, what's better? Should I buy this or should I buy that? Of course, it's all subjective, but I do feel like a lot of these sets have the data to show how well they've been doing and give us an idea of how well they'll do in the future. But of course, anything can change. But if you want to watch more Pokemon content, guys, make sure to click the video on the screen. And that is it from me, guys, in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next one.